built to serve.
Back here on First Things First, we're now joined by three-time Super Bowl champ, voted funniest guest we've ever had.
What up?
Former NFL coach, smart man, Eric Mancini. Hey, Coach.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Hey, Coach, can I ask you a favor?
Sure.
And I know this is not really in your comfort zone, but I know you're working on personal growth and evolution. Will you bring at least one of your Super Bowl rings to Miami?
Oh.
Yeah, I probably won't.
Okay.
I don't know how that associates with growth, but if you look at this time.
Yes, the time is showing immense growth.
Yeah,
And so I was...
growth
Here's how you can do it. A chain, so Nick feels more comfortable, and then just stick it on the chain.
Oh, now that would be dope.
That is more in your wheelhouse.
And I wear the rings
I haven't
on
heard
my
a lot of people say dope in a while either. That's a little bit of a thrill.
Will
That
you at
would
least
be
take
dope.
a picture of them so we can see them?
Do you have rings, Coach?
Yeah, I think that is. That's
Okay,
somewhere.
just making sure, because I've been saying that you do.
Okay.
So I just want to make
Fine.
sure.
I tried, America.
And my goal is to be dope.
All right, Coach. Speaking of coaches, Kyle Shanahan is making his Super Bowl debut as a head coach. Last time he coached in the Super Bowl, it was 3 years ago. It was Super Bowl 51, and he was the offensive coordinator of the Falcons when the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead to the Patriots. He then went home empty-handed. Even though a few seasons have passed, Shanahan remembers the lessons he learned in that game.
There's definitely parts in that Super Bowl that I would love to have back, and stuff I was very hard on myself. But, you know, the whole narrative of if I just would have ran it, we would have won. I know that wasn't the case. I know it went into that game and all the stuff that happened. So that stuff didn't bother me. I won't say that I ever relaxed in that Super Bowl, especially with Tom Brady having that ball. But that's something that keeps you humble at every single moment until the game's over.
Coach, what do you think Shanahan can learn from what happened in that game that he can take into this Super Bowl matchup against the Chiefs?
Well, you see what he learned even this past game, where every inclination of an offensive coordinator who is also the head coach, when you've got a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo and an offense like he has, is to throw the ball more. But he was
that run.
He was it was going well. He was limited to 8 passes, which is an incredible number. To me, that's a direct reflection of what he learned. And you go through a lot of lessons in life, but in the NFL, and when you go through a lesson that's as painful as the one that he went through, you're going to have a plan in place. And in his defense, there was a head coach who could have trumped him at any point on any of those different drives.
Correct.
And now he is the head coach, so I'm sure he's going through that situation. Ideally, you're in that situation, being up as much as they were, but he's going to cover that with his coordinators, maybe in a way that he wished it had been covered when he was in the same spot.
Well, the other, and I understand Shanahan's point, and I'm not trying to relitigate Super Bowl 51, but that we couldn't just run it every single time. That's kind of true. What's also true is, run it or not, they were not taking the play clock down within 5 seconds, as when you have that type of lead, especially late in the game as the lead's dwindling, but you still have a lead, you absolutely have to do. And what was the most critical of all the errors was what they did, or more accurately, what they didn't do after Julio Jones made the catch that should have iced the game. That catch, we thought it was one of the greatest catches. It was right there alongside the Mario Manningham catch in this Super Bowl you won, where it's like, oh my God, how did he make that throw and that catch? Well, now they are going to win. They're at the 22-yard line, up 8 points inside of 4 minutes. If you just were to, and I know you can't, you wouldn't, just take knees in that spot, if you trust your field goal kicker, the game's over. Instead, they put themselves in a position where they took sacks, where they stopped the clock, and that's why the Patriots were able to come back. But I do think you learn from that. I think it's unfortunate that he had to learn from it in that painful of a fashion. But to Coach's point, I think he has shown that type of growth as far as style, and this is something you guys did so well in New England, that you did well in your coaching stops. Style points are fake. It is not about how you win the game. It is about, did you win the game? And there comes a point in the game, and the Niners, I'm certain, their best game plan and their hope is that this happens in the Super Bowl, where your opponent is no longer your opponent, where your opponent is the clock. And once that happens, your game plan has to go out the window, and you start playing against the clock, especially since they changed the onside kick rules to where if it becomes an onside kick game, you've essentially lost, which is different than even during that Super Bowl.
Yep.
So I think Shanahan has learned, even if he's doing a little revisionist history as far as what happened in that Super Bowl, and I think we have seen it in these playoffs so far.
Yeah, when you find yourself on the wrong side of Super Bowl history, you're going to remember the lessons that come out of that experience, and I think that last week's game against the Packers is an example of Kyle Shanahan growing as a play caller, because I haven't met an offensive coordinator that doesn't want to throw the ball all around the yard, but the fact that he was able to stay with the run to the tune of racking up nearly 300 yards rushing and only allowing your quarterback to throw the ball 8 times, I think that that's significant growth, but that's also recognizing the strengths of your team and playing to them. If you look at Super Bowl 51, when they played the Patriots, they had success running the football in the first half. So you would think if something's working, let's stay with it and force them to stop it. When they force them to stop it, when they stop it, then we'll come up with another way to be able to try to have productivity on the offensive side of the ball. But you make them stop what you do well first, and if they never do it, well, that's to your advantage. So I think that that's a big thing that he can take out of it. But I also wonder how Kyle Shanahan will do on this stage in terms of overall game management, because it's different when you think about it from a play calling standpoint as opposed to managing the game, feeling the heartbeat of the game, and making decisions in real time, recognizing the pressure and the magnitude of the moment. So that's something to watch for. Now he's got a great resource in his family tree. His dad has been on that stage multiple times, so I'm sure he can lean on him from that. But I'd be interested to see how he handles that, because the Super Bowl is not just any other game. And if you try to sell that to your team or to yourself, you're only doing yourself a disservice.
When you look at decisions, oftentimes we're so results oriented, and I get that, but you also have to look at the process to how you got to those results, and was that flawed, you know, as you move forward, and they weren't running the ball very well in the second half, and I think there was this mentality with that offense. They were I believe the best offense in the league that year.
They're one of the 8 highest scoring offenses in league history. So there was that mindset of, we're going to go win this game, as opposed to, we're not going to lose this game. And when you look back at things, people will criticize, hey, you weren't conservative enough. But if you get too conservative, yes,
then people criticize you the other way and say, you were one of the 8th best offenses ever in NFL history, but yet you went into a shell. So I don't think it's completely fair to just retroactively look at this and say, you know, it's all his fault.
Listen, you're totally right. And I could see it already percolating with the Chiefs' game plan, with what the Chiefs did in the second half against the Titans. Once they got up 11 and they started just running the football, if Patrick doesn't complete that 3rd and 6 bomb to Sammy Watkins, put the game away, if that goes incomplete, and now all of a sudden it's like, wait, you guys were just annihilating them through the air. Then you start running. It would have been old. Andy Reid's, you know,
exactly
100%.
When I was watching the game, that's exactly what it felt like, where it was headed.
It was headed there. And so I totally understand. I think it's a really good point. The point I'm making is, for that specific game, when you say, let's go win it, they won it when Julio caught that pass. Mm-hmm. When you're at the 22-yard line inside of 4 minutes, up 8. Unless your field goal kicker has torn his hamstring and you're indoors with a chance to go up 11 and make sure the other team has no timeouts left. The aggressive play was to Julio, and you won the game there. And they kept their foot on the gas. They're calling 2 more pass plays on that drive, knocked them out of field goal range. That's the part that it does appear Shanahan certainly has learned from.
And Shanahan's about to play a team who erased a 24-point deficit themselves in the Chiefs against the Texans. So they know what that's like on the other side. All right, Coach, stick around. Coming up, should the Patriots have kept Jimmy G and traded Tom Brady?
Oh, how about
that's
that?
Next on First Things First.
Coach, I was really mad when the